But okay, whatever. We're just gonna go with it.
Okay.
Hi, Bergalicious.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us. So I feel like you were just so liked on the Traitors. You were the breakout. What was your casting like? We're so excited to have you on, by the way. We got so many questions from our listeners, but people want to know what your casting situation was like to get onto the Traitors.
Yeah, honestly, so this is what happened. So get done filming Love Island. Taylor and I get our own hotel room. We wake up the next morning and we knew we were going to meet with the EPs. Like, it's a goodbye. Like, thank you so much for having me on Love Island. I had a wonderful time. It's like your time to thank them. So my girlfriend Taylor went there and hers lasted like 15 minutes. And then I went and did mine. And then there was an NBC exec and then the executive producers of Love Island there. And I met with them. And then I met with the NBC executive. She was like, "We'd love for you to be on Traitors." And I was like, I've never heard of Traitors. I have no idea what's it about. But I just deferred from physical therapy school while I was in Love Island because I was like, I'm not going to be back in school in time because I'm still going to be in Love Island. So I was like, I will for sure do it because I have no job right now. I have nothing. So I will definitely take it. And then she's like, perfect. You're going to leave in like 20 days. So
wow.
Then you get done. So then I go back and tell Taylor about it. She's like almost crying. She's like, "You're gonna leave me for like a month now after we just like are finally going home after Love Island." And we talked it through. I'm like, I have to take this opportunity. I want to do another show. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And don't worry, I'm not gonna be talking to anybody else because I'll be isolated for a whole month. And so it ended up working out perfectly fine. And right away once I got back from Scotland, I immediately flew to her and spent like a week with her, and then she flew back up. So we've been super good about it. But that was my casting experience. It was literally get done filming Love Island. The next day, before I even flew home from Fiji, they were asking me to go do Traitors.
Did you expect that?
No, because like you look at all the other Love Island cast, like how many times do people get casted from one show to the other?
Right.
And did you realize how big Traitors was going to be? Like even now when it's playing out, did you realize how big this was?
I still don't fathom it because I don't know what like number one unscripted show means. But I like today at work, right before I left, I had a fan come up and like, "Can we get a selfie real quick?" As I'm leaving work. Like I just got done with work and like I'm on my way out. I need to go do this podcast, but I took a picture with them real quick. And
that's awesome.
The funny thing is too, because I'm with Taylor, so her and I were in like California together. And people were stopping us. I'm like, "Oh, they're getting a Love Island picture." No, they're like, they just want to get a picture with me. They didn't have any idea who my girlfriend was.
Oh my gosh. Did Taylor wonder why you and not me?
No, she kind of understood because like she just dropped in Casa.
Oh, yeah.
Like she was there for like less than half the season, if that makes sense. At the back end of it.
Well, I have to ask, how'd you get on Love Island? Were you, I need to know about that process.
Do you want the long story or the short story?
Whatever.
Okay, so we're going to go back to December of 22. I was alone. I just finished my final exams. I went to work and then I was like lonely. I'm like, I don't have a Christmas date this year. I'd love to have a Christmas date. And then I turned on Netflix and there was Love Island in like the top 10 trending shows. So I watched season 1. Watched like the first 2 episodes and I was like, why don't I apply for it? So I stayed up for like the next 8 hours. I watched like 8 episodes of the first season of Love Island. And I was just working on like filling out the application. Like there's 105 questions for it.
Wow.
And I put 3 paragraphs for each question. And I was like, yeah, I'm just lonely. Like I'd love to love someone, blah, blah, blah. Like I gave every answer very thoroughly. And I forgot I even applied and I got a call back like 4 months later. They're like, "We just saw your application. Would you still be interested in doing some interviews?" I was like, hell yeah, I would be. Wow. They're like, perfect. Send us a casting video. And so this was like the middle of March now. And I went outside. It was like just snow everywhere. And I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. I was like, "Hey guys, it's Bergie. Let's go. I'd love to be in the Love Island villa. It's cold outside. I'd rather be in Fiji." And I just sold them on by pitch there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know the UK, have you watched the UK one?
I have not.
Oh, UK, so good. So, I mean, not that like you're obsessed with the show, but as viewers and people that are into reality, the UK one is amazing too.
Yeah. the thing is, so I called my stepsister. I'm like, hey, I'm here, like in this casting process for Love Island, and she's like, well, I only watched the UK one. The US one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried watching the US one, but I find myself watching UK a little bit more. It's very different. It's very different, but it's so interesting to know that you were on there and you actually found love.
Yeah, it worked out because there's only like 3 couples still together in like the history of Love Island, like USA.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 or 4. It's not really high.
So back to the Traitors, when you got cast, did you go and watch the previous season?
Yeah, so I went home, watched the first season. Like I watched like an episode a day, and then once I got to episode 5, I was like hooked on it because like it started to get Cody out, and I was like, oh my gosh, are they actually gonna get Cody out? So like that's when I feel like the show picks up, is like when the Traitors are about to get banished. I feel like that's like the most exciting part of the show.
Yeah, the first few episodes could be a little bit slower, and then the more you get into it, it's exciting. But I felt like with your guys' season, it was exciting right away.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like by episode 3, it's like, oh my gosh, like the whole poison setup was amazing. Like, well done by Parvati and Dan. Like they made that so entertaining too.
So good.
Yeah, like
we do a lot of we do mostly Bravo shows, but a lot of the housewives. So who was your favorite housewife that was on the show with you?
Oh my god, that's obviously gonna be Phaedra. Like
yeah.
Who else the funny thing is too. So I flew into Amsterdam, and then on my way to Scotland, I was sitting right next to Phaedra on my way to the on my flight. And so like right from the get-go, her and I already had that like instant connection because like we both sat next to each other on the flight. And the other thing is too, like I was putting up my suitcase above the latch where you sit.
Yeah.
You get help me with my bags? She's like, yeah, sure. She's like, where are you going, honey? I was like, I'm just going to Scotland because you're not supposed to share any information. And she goes, you going to a castle? I was like, yeah, I'm going to a castle. So we already had like a little inside scoop, and she shared me about all of her family, and I shared like I was just on Love Island. I met Taylor, and like we just information for like an hour before.
And she's such a character, so that'd be amazing to sit next to her. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the best plane rides, just for an hour.
What was your first impression of Tamra?
Oh, so I did a bodybuilding competition, and Kevin and I were talking about, because Kevin also was like into bodybuilding, and apparently Tamra was into bodybuilding. So I was like, oh, this woman can be like very consistent and very like adamant, like because bodybuilders are very consistent and very adamant and like their stuff. So I was like, don't piss her off.
Right.
Like, impression.
And how about Sheree?
So during the Scarecrow Challenge, we were in the same mission. Like I was on the Housewives team, if you remember that. I had like Larsa, Michelle, MJ, Sheree, and Phaedra. Yeah. And then Dawn too. I called her Sheree, and she like immediately went, no, it's Sheree. And I was like, okay, it's Sheree. Yeah. Again, pretty much with all the Housewives, it was like, don't piss them off.
Right.
That was my impression.
Well, like speaking of Sheree, so like she's not shown as much, but she's been in there as long as like she's even still in there right now while we're watching. Do you think it's because like they're not creating that much drama, or is it hard for the cast, like for the production to really like highlight different people?
I think it's hard. Like they're trying to focus on one storyline, and you could honestly make an episode probably focused about one person and what they're thinking, but they want to focus on the Traitors and not like what are all the faithfuls doing, because like Sheree was in our group of 5. Like immediately after we got done with that discussion, when it was like the split castle, we immediately had like Sheree in our group because she was also outside during the bird challenge. So like we trusted Sheree because we're like, there's no way she's a traitor. Otherwise because she saw me and Trishelle go into the walled garden to get the shield. So she knew we had the shield as well. So that's something that didn't get shown either. So like we really trusted Sheree, and she was pretty much in our group of 5, but they don't ever show that.
Yeah, I was so curious because I'm like, she's still in it and like she's barely shown. So I'm like, okay, I wonder like who her alliance is other than Phaedra. So that's very interesting.
She's so out there in her show. So I'm like, why aren't we seeing her personality here? But there's so many of you guys. So it's like, how can you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was also gonna say she kind of like alienated herself in the beginning too, because it's like the round tables too. It's like, who do you vote for? And then she would have like She didn't want to vote for people because she didn't have enough. Like, she didn't want to vote for Peppermint. She didn't want to vote for Max, and then she didn't want to vote for who was it? The third? Oh, Larsa. She didn't want to vote for Larsa.
Yeah.
She voted for John. And
Right.
she was mad, but she So I think that was part of the problem too.
Well, so you brought up the poison scene. How did none of you guys see her do that? I'm still so confused about this.
So I think that's the first night they let us drink like heavily. I think we got 3 or 4 glasses of wine, and I still can't remember, but I'm wondering if they gave us a day off and then we came back to the castle. So not only are we trying to remember what happened, but we're trying to remember what happened like 2 nights ago instead of like last night. Just get days off as well. So I'm trying to remember. I don't know, but I think they probably gave us a day off, and then we were trying to think like a whole day prior. If that makes sense. So then you were like that much further from like who got poisoned.
Yeah. I do have to ask, because I am watching Love Island All Stars, and you just said you had 3 to 4 glasses of wine that they allowed. In Love Island All Stars, they only allow you to have 1 glass of liquor. Is that how it is in the US?
I think we got half a glass.
Wow.
Yeah. There was 1 night. There was 2 nights in the whole season. They gave us like 2 full glasses, and your tolerance is just shot. So when you get those 2 full glasses, that's like the 2 nights you're actually gonna get a little drunk. But like,
did you feel it?
Oh, I like the first night I felt it, and like the second time I felt it too.
Wow. And do they tell you why? Like they just don't want you guys to get too crazy?
I don't know. I think there was like a thing like in the UK season where like there was like maybe like a sexual thing that happened, and
Okay.
protect themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, that completely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I just thought about that when you mentioned the amount of wine. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of the questions, which I think we know this, but you guys don't sleep in the castle, correct? Because everyone's like, how did they not hear the traitors getting out in the middle of the night and like, going in? So you guys don't sleep in the castle, right?
I can't answer that.
Okay,
like you get put in a room, another person is in that room with you to make sure you don't leave for a long time, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So you're in a hotel.
Did you have your phone with you? You guys don't have your phone on you, right? The whole time filming? No. Yeah, that's hard. That's very isolating.
Yeah. Well, not the whole time. So they give us 1 phone call every week, and they said it would be like 10 minutes, but I would get like 30 minutes with Taylor. Like,
okay.
So like it all depended like who you had like chaperoning you too, but like you get like 1 phone call every week. And I know some of the parents like that were on the show, like they'd get maybe multiple phone calls.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, all their kids. So
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Who did you suspect when you first, got there?
Oh, see, I have a journal. So right away, I wasn't going to trust any of the Survivor players. I wasn't going to trust Dan. I knew the cast got leaked while I was at the airport about to fly.
Oh.
Research on everybody before I came too. So I already had a little tip. I'm like, okay, Dan could easily be a traitor and get away with it. So he was already on my radar. Same with the Survivor players. Is like those guys are strategists. And I'm trying to think. But like from stepping out of the van, I was actually suspicious of Deontay Wilder right away. Like this is before we even selected traitors. So I'm like, Deontay Wilder would be a good one.
Even Johnny, even though he was out right away, but Johnny Bananas, if like he didn't get murdered, I feel like you guys would all pick him as a traitor right away.
Yeah, I had Johnny Bananas as one, and then who was the last one? Oh, I had John the politician, just because dirty, So I was like, maybe they picked John just because.
I feel like they should have recruited John, by the way. Phaedra should have recruited him because you guys all think he's 100% a faithful. And she ended up choosing Kate. What did you think about her choosing Kate in the last episode?
Kate was a bad decision. And I don't think John would have taken it. John would have been murdered. John would have taken the murder. He was there. John's whole purpose being there. He had like some things happen in his past as a politician. And he wanted to be seen as a good guy. So, like, that was the whole purpose he was there.
Oh.
He got recruited with an ultimatum. I think he would take the murder. Like, he would take the high road.
Wow.
So,
and
like,
that's why Phaedra didn't choose him.
Yeah, that's probably a good pick. I think Phaedra should have picked CT with the whole showmance going on right now. I think that would have been great. Seeing them in the tournament. And then also, I think Trishelle would have been a good one. Who else? I think, someone that already has suspicion on them, recruit them and then throw them under the bus the next day. That way you look like a great traitor hunter. Like, they were just throwing you under the bus because they're a traitor. Like, that's what I should do. Like, maybe throw Sandra or someone that like could easily be picked as a traitor, and then you try to bring as much evidence to the table and like throw them under the bus. That way they're like, oh, Phaedra can't be a traitor. It was just the traitors trying to throw her under the bus all of a sudden.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's smart. Would you have taken it if they asked you to be a traitor?
So not when Peter got selected, but if they asked me after that, I think I would have, because after seeing like where everybody stood after the, what do you call it? The sacrifice ceremony, then I was a little pissed. So I was like, yeah. No,
Yeah.
Right.
You guys didn't light my torch.
Yeah. But yeah, what was I gonna say?
Well, you brought up Sandra. I was going to ask you about Sandra. Were you surprised watching that she's been wrong about everything?
No, because I lived it. I went. She was convinced that Peter or I was a traitor. So when I walked in with the shield and go, I have the shield, they cut all this out. Sandra stood up out of her chair and started pointing at me. Bergie's the traitor. He's an idiot. He thought himself would like get all suspicion off of him. And she just went on this like tangent of like why I'm a traitor for like 2 minutes in front of everybody. And they didn't show any of it.
Why do you
my
think
God.
it?
I have no, because it didn't stick to like, they only have an hour, They only
Right.
but I think that would have been so comedy if they did show it, because she like stood up out of her chair and was adamant.
Right. I was going to ask, when did you film confessionals?
This is like the tricky part. When in the beginning, it's like whenever there's like someone else not in it. But there was, and as the season progressed, it would be like while we're eating like lunch and dinner. So that way, like, you're not getting your strategy time interrupted. But in the beginning, like when Janelle got banished, I was gone. Like, so I got the shield, right? So they wanted to film me that I had the shield. So I went into my confessional and I get out and it's like time for the roundtable. So I missed all conversations after the challenge. So I was freaking out. I'm like, Janelle, your name's on the table right now. Like, what do you mean? Like, what happened while I was gone for 35 minutes? So like, I had no, like, so then we go into the round table and I'm like, I have to throw everything I have. So I was like calling out Dan, I was calling out Parvati, and then Janelle threw out Sandra and CT's name, so that didn't help her case.
Yeah.
We threw out Parvati's name and they didn't show any of that again too.
Right. Well, if you thought Dan was a traitor from the beginning, why did it take a little bit longer for him to get murdered?
Or banished?
Or banished. Yeah, banished.
So I'll start. So I was working with Larsa and MJ right away, because if you remember episode 3, I call him out right away. And then Deontay Wilder scared the hell out of me when he said he's not a traitor. And I was just like, I'm not going to argue here with Deontay Wilder. He gave this convincing argument like Max was a traitor. I was like, okay, I got to go with Deontay Wilder here.
Yeah.
So that there was that. Then the next day, everybody was adamant that it was Larsa. And I was like, okay, I don't think Larsa's a traitor, but I don't think CT's a traitor. And like, it was either, while I was sitting there, I felt like it was either Larsa or CT that was going to get banished. So I was like, I'd rather have CT here than Larsa. So then I voted for Larsa. If you remember, I was like, I don't even think you're a traitor, but I'm voting for you.
Yeah.
Responds with, well, CT's going to murder you next week or whatever. But that was my problem. Then what was the next one? Janelle's banishment. So then I did vote for Dan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. It definitely seems like you have to go with what everyone is throwing out too. Sometimes even though you have your suspicions, which would drive me insane if I was at the round table.
Yeah. Because you don't want to like be singled out and then like you vote for someone else. Like, let's say like the Peppermint vote. I was the only one that didn't vote for Peppermint, and then Peppermint stood up in the circle and says, I am a traitor. Everyone's going to be pointing the finger at you. It's like, why did you vote for Peppermint? Are you?
Right.
Yeah.
So like, that's like the worrisome. And then you don't want to be the ones being like singled out either. Because even if you're incorrect about, let's say I said Dan was a traitor and I'm the only one that votes for Dan, and then someone murders me, but like Dan's not a traitor, then everybody thinks, oh, Dan's the traitor because Bergie said he was a traitor, but I was incorrect too.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the traitors could use that and be like, oh, now we can get rid of another player just from banishment.
Yeah. Was there anyone that was cast that left you with a bad impression?
How so?
Just you were kind of surprised by them and not in the best way possible. Maybe they weren't as nice or you were just surprised about them. I mean, there's a lot of people that were cast.
Or maybe they didn't care to get to know you in a sense because they probably thought like, you know, they're just there. They thought they're better than you or someone else.
See, I never really got that impression from anybody. And the problem was you don't get a lot of time to like have conversations like because let's say breakfast is at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Then at noon, right? So you have like a little bit of time to have your conversation. Then you have to go get ready for the mission. You have to get dressed. You have to go do your mission. And then you do the mission. And then you have to undress from the mission, get changed. And then you have a little bit of time, maybe like an hour before the round table. And then you have your, what feels like maybe a 2-hour round table. And then whatever else. So it's just like.
You go back to the hotel.
Yeah. So no, not the hotel. But it's like you don't have like a lot of. So like once you start making like people you're strategizing with, then you kind of like just kind of stick with them. So I didn't really get to meet everybody. Like I barely knew Larsa. I didn't really know Marcus. I didn't really know Peppermint. I didn't really know Bananas. Like, you know, I just saw them. I didn't really get to have a conversation with them.
Right. Were you shocked when you were murdered or did you expect that at all?
I was shocked when I got murdered from the bird challenge. I wasn't shocked the second time.
Oh, okay.
Because the first time I was like, nobody wants to murder me. And like, I'm calling out Dan. And if he's a traitor, that'd be like the worst move ever to murder someone that's adamant that you're a traitor. Because now everybody's like, well, Bergie said you were a traitor. Why? I think you're a traitor. So I just thought that was a bad move. And like, why would they murder me? And then when I died the second time, I think it made sense because I'm like a guaranteed faithful, and you really don't want guaranteed faithfuls in your game.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Twice in a row. So it was just like,
yeah, it's a lot. Were you upset when did it hit you more than you thought it would? Or did you understand it's a game?
So I was upset in the sense that like, you know, like there's a murder and a banishment every day.
Yeah.
Murdered because of a twist, if that makes sense. Like,
right.
Like I'm not mad at anybody for not picking me, but it was just like, that was like, I wanted to banish Parvati. Like I've been on Parvati for like 3 days or 4 days now.
Right.
The opportunity to take her out and like, she gets to murder me.
Right.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you like are watching it now and you actually know that Phaedra is a traitor?
So the thing is, I probably would have voted with Peter this past episode.
Yeah.
Even though that would have hurt.
Oh.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, I almost wanted to vote for Dan because I thought it was freaking hilarious that he threw Phaedra's name out there. But I'm like, I'm gonna piss Phaedra off. I'm like really close with Phaedra, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But
do you think it was
smart
for them to go and pick? You know, like Trishelle was like on this like whole thing where it's like we need to get Phaedra out first before we get Parvati. Did you think that was smart to do, or should they have just waited and then people would have went with what they said?
That's tough. Like for the numbers game, yes, but now the problem is they look hella sus with, you know, using Parvati. It's like, why are they using a traitor to help them in their game?
Right.
You know, did Peter actually take the recruit and was like gonna help Parvati banish Phaedra? You know, so it didn't. I think it hindered their game, but it could have been a good tactic to use if they had more numbers to vote out Phaedra, but they didn't have the numbers.
Yeah.
And I think
they've never done it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever been done. Like, Traitor, but we'll vote with you if you vote for this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. Now, when you're in, let's say you were in a hotel, okay, and then you see someone else, you just happen to run into them. Did you ever have private conversations with the cameras not being there, or were they really good with that?
Hypothetically, there is security everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like,
okay.
Or that, like, stayed up all night to make sure you never left, hypothetically.
So the reason we know this too is like 10 years ago, we did like a family game show, and it was one of those things where you had to like stay in a hotel and there was someone at the door at all times, like who would walkie-talkie things and stuff like that. So
No
that's
phones, no nothing.
no
So it was
phones, no
crazy.
nothing. So it would get really boring though too. So do you have any regrets about how you played?
No, because I look back on it, it's like, as a faithful, like I've been so pissed if I was just trying to stay under the radar the whole game, and then I got murdered episode 9 and I didn't do anything. I didn't get any screen time, didn't do anything. Like, so that's why I was like, okay, being an alliance, I'm like, we're gonna be the biggest target. We're riding this out until we all die. And I was just like, because you know how pissed I would, like, it would suck so much that I was there the whole time and then you get murdered right before the end. And it looks
Yeah, no.
like that was the game we were trying to play. So I was like, you know what? I'd rather survive murder and do all these crazy things and die that way than just,
Yeah,
run.
Bergie episode 1 compared to what we've seen, like you were night and day. So like good job for getting out of your shell and all those things, because you really did play a good game.
Thank you. Was that Love Island episode 1, or is that
both actually? I mean, even like your Bergie and Love Island compared to Traitors is it's so different.
Thanks. And there was only like a 20-day in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it about that. And that's like my thing too. Like episode 1, like anytime I'm meeting new people, I'm like overwhelmed. And then you act like, hey, now one of you's a traitor, try to figure it out, and then I'm just getting grilled about like, are you a traitor?
Right.
Like, why are you talking fast? Why are you doing this? Why is your face red? Why are you sweating? Like immediately, like I feel like I'm in customs and I don't have any cocaine, but they're wondering why.
Did you want to be a traitor?
Not this time, but I definitely want to be a traitor next time. Yeah.
So would you come back on the show?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Are you going to start doing like reality game shows like this? Are you interested in? You said you were, so I don't know if you're interested in doing that.
Oh, I would have 100% be interested in doing whatever Peacock wants me to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We did get asked how the order works for breakfast. Like, do you see anybody, or is it really secretive and all that stuff? You really don't know when you walk in?
I don't know if I can talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I don't want to like talk about it and then get in trouble. So let's.
Right. Do you regret trusting Peter as much as you did, or were you happy about that?
No, so Peter and I day 1 walked into the castle, and they could have showed that like we were best friends right when we got out of the van. I'm like, that's Peter from The Bachelor. Like I was just like googly eyes. I'm like, holy crap, because I watched Hannah Brown's season. I'm like, I've seen before, because like I still haven't seen my season of Love Island yet. So it's just like watching someone else on TV that I've watched. Like I was just like, oh, there's Peter. So like him and I were walking around the castle. We were looking at everything, like the knights and armor. Like we went to the kitchen. Him and I just explored the castle, and we were like best friends from then on. And it's just like, I could never betray you, and I think that was his downfall too. He could never betray me.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
And did you walk away with friendships? Like, do you still talk to some of these people?
I talked to Janelle, Peter, Trishelle probably at least once a week, and I talked to Phaedra probably every 3 weeks to a month.
Oh, wow. When did you film this?
I don't know if I can say that either.
Oh, gosh. I'm sure it's illegal.
Well, actually, I think, okay, so it was September and October.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, that was pretty recent though. Mm-hmm. And you said that year-around snow. What state are you from?
Minnesota.
Oh, okay. We're in Michigan.
We're from Michigan.
So there's a lot of snow. Yeah, so we understand snow. So our final question for you is, what's next for you?
I'm working on a YouTube right now. I just paid for cameras, mics. I'm gonna do like a Bergalicious update, and then the Bergalicious update will be like vlogs and stuff like that. Me with my girlfriend, just stuff in between, probably like a weekly update, and then Nerd Out with Bergie. I'm into Star Wars. I'm into Marvel. So I'm thinking about doing like reviews and just nerding out pretty much.
Like that.
And if Peacock asks me for another show, I'll definitely hop on.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are such big fans of you, and we hope to see you on reality game shows. Even like the challenge in MTV, I think you would do very well on that.
I do too. Because I was talking to Bananas when we were in New York City, and it's just like, I don't want to be the worst one there. That's like, I'm down to play it as long as I'm not the worst one.
Right.
I just don't want to look bad.
Well, you're good at making friendships, so
Yeah.
I think that will help you.
Wait, I have one last thing. You saw Larsa and Marcus together, and then did you hear about their breakup?
Yeah, and then I heard they got back together.
Yeah. How was your relationship
your reunion?
there?
The reunion is coming up, correct? March.
Yeah.
How exciting!
Yeah, I heard Andy Cohen's gonna ask him about it because I'm not into the whole like Marcus and Larsa showman romance, but their romance. I have no idea what's going on with them. I haven't seen them since the show because they got eliminated so quickly in the show.
Yeah, right away. So yeah, you're right about that. You probably didn't see as much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy, and we
Did
can't
you have
wait to see
fun
you
on this?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. It had fun. This is one of the more fun podcasts.
Okay.
Yay!
Thank you. All right. Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you, Bergalicious.
Thank you.